are you looking for? Where will your heart's desire take you?
Let's go!
Hey everybody, JJ Starwind is here, and welcome to another JJ Starwind Corner episode, episode 70. Did 70 of these things, that's crazy. Wow. And even though I took a break a little bit in between, like, to be able to reach 70 episodes within, I would say, a year's time, if not more, it's pretty good on my part. Very, very good on my part, and I definitely appreciate all the viewership that I got from the last video. I got a lot more views off the previous episode that I talked about, which was animes that deserve sequels. That got quite a bit of traction, so definitely appreciate it, and I even got a few subs in there as well. So I definitely appreciate the new subs. So, to kind of pick off where episode 69 left off, let's now discuss the animes that I felt like didn't deserve sequels, or the animes that actually were good. Like, the first seasons were awesome, but then when they did a sequel for said show, it didn't pair up with the original season, meaning that it wasn't as amazing, right? It could be the story was bad off, or it could mean the animation was just really bad off, or it could be a combination of both. Or maybe, like, you know, the plots was all messed up. They changed stuff that wasn't fit within the manga. If anybody read the manga of that particular show, it didn't match with the story of the anime, so it could be a lot said about those types of shows. So let's just start off with those first. So I have two in mind that I felt like were really good. Like, the first seasons were amazing, but then the second season, for whatever reason, and also studio changes. That's another thing too. If they say if one anime had a really awesome studio to go behind their project, and then for whatever reason that studio went bankrupt or it merged with another company and they just lost the license rights to that anime and it was kind of for sale, another company can come and take that anime and then they do whatever they want to do with that show and it doesn't even look the same. Okay, so let's start off with Basilisk. That came out in 2005. For those that don't know, Basilisk was kind of set during the Sengoku period of Japan, and it was basically between two rival clans, the Iga and the Koga. And that was crazy because everybody from both clans was getting it in, man. Like, they were all killing each other off, all for the sake of revenge. It was ridiculous. It was really insane. And it ended tragically as well. I don't want to get too deep in the story, but you have to watch that anime just to see what I'm talking about. And it was kind of more of a Romeo Juliet type of story too, if you guys are familiar with Romeo and Juliet. So it's kind of like that as well. Now, when they did the second season, it was more about their descendants. Okay, so the clans were completely gone, but the descendants still lived, and they had a new threat to deal with during the Tokugawa shogunate days. So it's like, I'm watching the series, it just didn't, the violence, the story, it wasn't as deep. You know, it almost seemed like it was more downgraded for children than it was like for adults, because the original show was definitely for adult themes or just adult people in general, but like this one wasn't so much like that. It seemed like it was a lot more toned down as far as the drama and the violence is concerned with Basilisk. And that sequel I'm talking about is called Oka Ninja Scrolls. That came out, I want to say, in 2018. I could be wrong, but yeah, it came out much later than the original season. And I felt like anime show like that deserved a much better sequel than that, in my opinion. Hang on a sec. Sorry about that. That was a loud truck. Anyway, let's go to the second show I'm talking about. So, One Punch Man. The first One Punch Man that came out, that was made by, let me check this right quick, by Madhouse. Let's see, was it Madhouse? Yes, Madhouse. The first One Punch Man that was made by Studio Madhouse, they did a phenomenal job with that anime. Everybody was hooked. I remember when it first came out back in, what was it, 2016? Man, people was hyped. I was hyped. I was all on board for Teen Saitama. So when that series was over, it took a long time to hear anything about the second season. But that was because, like I said earlier, the studio shut down. Okay, Madhouse Studio ran out of business, and so JC Staff came over and took the second season. And you watched it. While it was comical, the story was still pretty good. Like, the graphics and the animation quality was not. It just was not on the same level. It just wasn't. And that disappointed me as a fan. It's like, man, like, this is not the sequel that we deserve. It just wasn't. Not coming from a story like One Punch Man. Just no way, man. So if there's a season 3, it has to do better than season 2. And I'm nervous for the third season. Because a lot of the luster that One Punch Man first picked up is pretty much gone now. Ain't nobody really talking about it hardcore like that, right? It's just not the case. So those are 2 shows off the top of my head that I could say, yeah. Like, they were, the originals animes were awesome, but the sequels were not. Now let me get to the remaining list of the anime shows that I feel like they don't really deserve sequels after watching them. So let me start off with The God of High School. So that is actually a South Korean manhwa, and that came out 3 years ago. And at the time, that was a lot of hype. I mean, it was crazy. I was like, why are people hyping this show up? So I had to watch it for myself, and I was like, okay, I see what it's about. It's like a bunch of high schoolers, and they're like these high-level martial artists, and they're fighting against other kids from rival schools across South Korea and stuff like that. Okay, nice. But there was a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes, and I just kind of got lost in the story because it was the pacing was just all over the place, man. I could not keep up. And by the finale, I was just confused as to what was going on. And some people said the story between the anime and the manga changed anyway because a different character in the anime won the high school tournament, whereas it was a different person, right? I'm not going to say who it is because I'll end up spoiling it. But that's kind of what happened. So the anime, the story didn't match up with the anime at all, and the pacing was just crazy. Okay, so just because of that, I don't think they need to get a second season of God of High School. Next up is Platinum End. Platinum End, okay. I felt like this anime could have been a lot better than what it was. Now, the concept around that anime had to deal with like angels and a central god, right? And the whole point of the angels being there was they were trying to find a successor to the original god because over time, more and more people were living and they weren't being taught about God's greatness, so to speak. So God was losing power. And if he kept on losing power, he was no longer going to exist because after all, it was the faith of humanity that kept God alive. Okay, so that's why the angels are desperately trying to look for a successor. And so when they finally picked the successor, spoiler alert, dude ends up committing suicide anyway. And therefore, humanity is gone. I saw that. I was like, nah. They could have did that so much better because they had a good theme going. The creator of that anime, he had a decent theme going, but the way he ended the show off was like, really? You want to end it like that? Oh man, yeah, Platinum Man. That anime. Okay, it might have been made. The anime was probably made to be a 1 season only, but it definitely don't need a sequel. There's no way. Now these other ones I'm finna talk about. Some of these actually came from Toonami. 2 of them that I saw last year and the year before. I'll start with this one that came out in 2021. So for all these people that watch Adult Swim, Toonami, you remember the show Pirate Princess Fina, or Fina Pirate Princess, whatever. Okay, that was a weird story. I'm not even gonna lie. So like, I could tell like the origins of the characters. Like, okay, one the main character was from France, I guess. I guess that's where she was from. So they came from Europe, and then the other cast, they were like a bunch of shinobi, and they were from Japan. Okay, and they were all trying to find this treasure. I forget the details exactly, but they were all trying to find this treasure that I think Fina's ancestors left behind. I guess for her to discover or something like that. But the dude that was trying to get after her, I swear, man, for all these pillar talks out here on YouTube and on social media, like this character here, I wish I remember that dude's name. I think his name was, it started with an A. But this dude was probably the most black pill anime character I've ever seen. Like this dude had feels for Fina. It was ridiculous. Like he was willing to kill off everybody just to get at her, and in the end, he still couldn't get her. I was like, dog, come on, man. And like that was a child too. Like she wasn't even a grown woman. This dude all grown up. Like he saw Fina through his old lover, which was basically was her mom. Okay, spoiler, that was her mother. So he loved the mother, and then he saw Fina, and he was like, oh my gosh, you look just like your mother. I must have you. It was creepy. It was crazy. All right, but like in the end, the guy ended up dying anyway. Like little spoiler, he ends up dying anyways, and I think they take the treasure, but Fina doesn't really use it. It's been a while since I watched the anime. The story was all over the place, so just because of that confusion and what was really happening, and the way that guy went out, I was like, nah, this anime don't deserve a second season either. Nah, I didn't know what the real aim was for that particular anime. I really didn't. Other than just maybe I guess pleasing some fangirls or something. Okay, so this one was even stranger. This Housing Complex C anime. Like this anime here came out. It was supposed to be some kind of horror mystery anime, and then it just turned out weird. Like the last episode, after everybody pretty much got killed off, damn near. The girl ended up being like the ancestral god that was controlling things. It just ended up weird. It's like, huh? I'm like, I mean, okay, it started off as this mystery anime, and you was kind of wondering what was going on, but then it just got crazy in the end. Like everybody betrayed each other. They started accusing each other of different things that was happening. All this weird stuff going on, and then for it to be one of the girls like pulling all the strings, acting as a godly figure, it was like, wow, okay, didn't see that coming. All because she was bored. I was like, all right, yeah, put this in the back shelf, never to be watched again. Now this next one, man, I actually did a video. I did a video of this anime years ago roasting it because it was so stupid. It was so crazy. So for those that don't know, there was an anime that came out that got some hype before it even came out, like in 2020, called Gibiati. Okay, this anime was all over the place, man. Let me try to get this guy's name right. Sensui. Okay, so Sensui, he was like this samurai. He was a badass, right? It was him and Kenroku, a ninja guy, and a few other characters that came from the past. And somehow they got transported into the present day. And it was like a virus that occurred around that time period as well. That pretty much changed the entire scope of the planet. It turned all these human beings into these crazy looking monsters, right? So think of it as the coronavirus mixed with some The Last of Us, mixed in with some maybe like Jurassic Park or something. Think about it like that. Like that's how lopsided and weird this anime got already. And then you add in samurai coming from the Sengoku era coming in, and they got to be the heroes to kill off all these demons to protect the girl that was in the anime. That was kind of like acting as their guide to try to navigate through the mutation that was Japan at the time, thanks to this virus. And then the whole freaking time, like the doctor that was with them, that was trying to find a cure, was actually the person that injected the virus and helped it to spread all across the planet. And here's the killer. The guy was an alien. So this virus wasn't even from the planet. It was an alien virus created by this doctor, and he was just posing as a human. just so he could somehow take over the planet. Something ridiculous like that, man. I was like, really, really. And this anime got so much hype too, because there was like a bunch of big names behind the project as well as the soundtrack. I'm like, okay, this anime might be a banger, right? But then you look at the story and then you look at the animation and how crappy it was. It's like, what? Nah, man, no. No, this turned out to be a huge flop. So GBI was definitely one of the bigger flop animes I've watched, especially in recent years, for sure. And yeah, I may try to find the link to that GBI video because I roasted even harder because I had better memory of the story back then. It was just sad. And so these last two, okay, these might ruffle some feathers, but screw it. I have to mention it anyway because I know I'm dragging this video out now. Yeah, it's like almost 15 minutes. Wow. So Black Clover, when this came out about, I want to say 8 years ago. Well, the manga came out 8 years ago. But when the show came out, I think I was watching it maybe like back in 2019 or so at the time, and it was like already maybe 2 or 3 episodes in. And I was like, I'm watching Black Clover, and like, dog, this looks too much like Naruto. It looked too much like Naruto. The character, his mannerisms, all that, like, man, he borrowing that from Naruto. I even some Deku from My Hero Academia. He had some of that too. Like this dude stay crying, this dude stay whiny. I'm like, man, come on. And then you had the other character that was a total badass. He was basically like Sasuke. I mean, like, and then they had the girl that was supposed to like Sakura, Noelle, that was her name, and then the other dude was named Yuno. I'm like, okay, this is too much like Naruto. Like, I kind of have an idea as to how this story is gonna kind of be. You know, now certain parts of Black Clover wasn't so bad, but like, okay, like just watching too much was like, there's too much similarities with the other shonen to really take this anime serious. Okay, I don't know if the anime has another season coming up, but like, just like Naruto, like the story was up and down. You had a bunch of fillers up in there too, with a couple of important battles, but like nothing crazy, man. So I mean, if you're a fan of Naruto, I mean, I guess you'll like this series too. If you're like, you're such a Naruto fanboy or fangirl that you can't help but watch Black Clover because it reminds you so much of Naruto. But that's cool. The only difference is Black Clover is just all about wizards and spells and stuff like that with books. Okay, so if you're into that type of stuff, yeah, you know, keep watching Black Clover. But me, I was kind of like put off pretty fast. And last but not least, I'll briefly touch on Dragon Ball Super. Briefly, okay? Because I'm already dragging this video. Dragon Ball Super comes out 2018. Okay, there was a lot of hype. People were starving for Dragon Ball content. These fanboys just couldn't wait for Super to drop. Couldn't wait. Okay, so the first part comes in. This was after the movies, after the Resurrection Frieza movie, as well as the Beerus movie, the introduction movie. Now that one got me interested, the Beerus one, because he came in raw. So we kind of watched the first season. That was like a reimagination of Beerus and Frieza coming in. But then by the time the Black Goku saga came out, Zamasu, I was like, what? Like, the whole point behind Zamasu didn't make any sense at all. And if anybody that hadn't watched that arc yet, or haven't watched Dragon Ball Super, I'm not going to spoil it. I ain't going to bother. Okay. From there on, the series just went downhill as far as the power scaling, the plot of the story, Goku still being stupid. Like, it just got ridiculous, man. And then by the end of the Tournament of Power, it just ended so ridiculous. Like, it made no sense at all. It's almost like the developers of Dragon Ball couldn't wait for that particular last arc to end. The Tournament of Power saga, they just couldn't wait for it to end. So they had to end it off with a hollow victory for Goku and his buddies. That's just kind of how I see it. It's like, okay. And thankfully, to this day, there has not been another anime season of Dragon Ball Super. Amazingly. I don't know. Maybe they listen to actual fans. I don't know. Or perhaps Toei just ran out of money and they couldn't, keep up with the demand of all these stories of Goku and friends. Okay, so it's been how many years now? Like 4 years since the last arc dropped for Dragon Ball Super? Anime version? You Dragon Ball guys, tell me why. Tell me why you think that's the case. So I'm rather curious. So yeah, that's my list. So I mentioned Basilisk. I mentioned One Punch Man, God of High School, Platinum Man, Phoenix Pirate Princess, Platinum. Yeah, I said Platinum Man. Housing Complex C, Black Clover, GBID, Dragon Ball Super. So yeah, you guys make your list. I'm pretty much done. I dragged it out way too long, but you guys go ahead and make your list of anime shows that you felt like didn't deserve sequels, and this should get rather juicy. I'm rather curious to see how people feel about this. Anyway, that's my list. Hopefully, I can come back with more corner episodes in the near future. You guys have a good one.